we're not here to talk about Alias 2 anyway. We're here to talk about your fancy pants player tracking system. So let me whip up my questions. And in the meantime, I'm gonna just screen share the latest demo that we've got. There we go. Alrighty, gentlemen. What can you tell us about how the system works?
Yeah, so the technology is pretty similar to what you've got with the GPS in your phone, right? It's we've got a bunch of nodes all around the maze, and as you move through the maze, they're measuring the distance to them, and then you're sort of triangulating your position off that. So that's sort of the basics of the positioning tech. Everything else you see, that's sort of like the scores, the active, deactive. That's really a very trimmed down version of scoreboard. There's sort of nothing special about that. It's just listening to the game events and drawing them in real time on the map.
How many of those nodes have you got in the arena?
Well, do you want to answer?
I mean, I also have to calculate it. I think it's 5 per base plus some extra ones, right?
Yeah, it's something like 20 thereabouts.
And is that like a expensive hardware, or is it pretty affordable?
It's complicated. It depends what you consider expensive. The setup's not cheap. Like, it's not the sort of thing you're just gonna go out and buy off the shelf. But it's it's probably in the it'd be hard to ballpark because we've also spent a lot on bits and pieces that aren't being used, just like prototyping and lots of crap. But it's probably at the point where if and when we can scale it up, it won't be too unreasonable.
Won't be prohibitive, but it's not that cheap either.
Yeah, it's not like every site's just going to be able to click their fingers and they got the thing set up in their arena.
I think the bigger problem as well, in terms of if we wanted to put in another site, it's the number of hours for us, like the setup hours, and then also imagine we put a site and we get this money off them, we set it up for everything, we put stuff back to NZ and it breaks down. You've got to deal with all that stuff as well. So there's it's probably just just buying it wouldn't be that bad, but all that other stuff that comes with it it's all money, right? Or time.
Yeah. Beefy in the chat's asked, what do the nodes work off? Wi-Fi or some other kind of signals?
Yes, I guess depending on how much sort of detail you want there, it's similar to Wi-Fi. It's what's known as ultra wideband. So the signals are at a higher frequency than Wi-Fi, but in general, yeah, they're similar.
In layman's terms, Wi-Fi, but not really.
Yeah, we spent a long time looking into Wi-Fi because the packs will have Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah.
So if you can track Wi-Fi, you're halfway there already. But we don't think maybe it is possible, but we don't think you can get the accuracy with Wi-Fi.
So you said you've got the nodes that are around the arena, and you're kind of triangulating your position based off those. So does that would mean that each pack also has a node on them as well?
Yeah, there's a tracker inside each and on each player.
And is that separate to the packs? Is that like a separate little thing you wear around your neck or something, or have you guys integrated it into the packs?
So sort of attached it to the harness. We've managed to get it down pretty small. I don't know. It's probably about that big. I probably actually have a case on my desk somewhere. There's an old one with some nasty ass cords out. You can see it. It's that big, plus a plastic case around it to protect it. So there's obviously there's a lot of options with the pack. You're already carrying a lot of hardware around with you. So at the moment we've kind of got them up up near the top of the shoulder. Not intrusive.
The accuracy changes a lot. Like if you put them like in the back versus on the shoulder.
Really?
Yeah, quite drastically actually. Like if you have them in the back, when you turn around, you'll move like a meter because like the resistance of it going through your body is maybe it's just me, maybe other people had less than a meter, I'm not sure, but yeah, they definitely seem to work best on the shoulders.
Yeah, that's funny. So what are the current main features, and maybe like what main features do you foresee as you guys keep working on it?
So right now we've sort of like where we're at now and where we made this prototype, this is kind of the proof of concept. So on this you can see, or at least maybe this doesn't prove to everyone, but it proves to ourselves that we can build everything, right? So we've got the scores, so we've got all the data from Zone, we've got the scores, we've got the tags, we can see when bases are hit, we can do all that. And then we've got the positions, right? So at its basic, we've got all the positional data and all the score data. So we can, at the moment, like the features is what you see, but we can imagine a dozen features that we want to build.
What's next on the agenda in terms of things you're going to add or tweak and stuff?
So from this demo, we've already made a couple of small tweaks, just about like tidying up the probably stuff you can barely even see in this demo, but like what the lines look like when people are shooting each other. The scoreboard, like tidy that up a little bit. I mean, that scoreboard for now is probably going to stay quite basic. Mm-hmm. You can probably also notice the players are sort of clipping through walls a fair bit.
Yeah.
And that's just to do with sort of the inaccuracies of the locations. And we sort of envisage using a lot of like software support to fix that up. So like pathing and just like rules for it, because you can kind of tell where somebody is when they clip through a wall. You can just kind of tell it not to render that if it's gone through a wall. So there's like a lot of software solutions you can make to fix some of those things.
Aaron's got his house perfect at home.
Yeah, I've got some videos on my house somewhere, and they just like with like no clipping and stuff, and it does look really good.
So, how much time did you guys put into making your arena map like to scale? Much?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things with this, is because it's all triangulation. You need to know exactly where each one of the things is down to like the centimeter.
Yeah.
Which means the whole map, this map that you're looking at right now. Well, actually, right now it's not, because we just did some arena changes, but this whole map is centimeter accurate.
Centimeter accurate. That's pretty wild.
Which took a lot of time.
Did you guys go through with like a measuring tape and like measure each wall individually?
We use lasers, but
yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, I did that myself when Adelaide did a arena change like a couple changes ago. Yeah, I went through and I didn't have a laser, so I measured each and every single wall with a tape measure and just like wrote it down. That was tedious. So yeah. I respect the hustle. Beefy has asked, how does it go with arena changes?
I just replied to him.
Yeah, it really depends on if they move. So the map at the moment, at least, the map is really just a picture, right? Like what matters is where the nodes are in a three-dimensional space. So if the actual nodes don't move, you can just can change the map and it's fine. But if they move, then you need to obviously go and find out where they've moved to. And also, you need to redraw the map, because otherwise you're going to have instances where it looks like somebody's somewhere that might be, there's a wall there now and there wasn't there before. Or
a lot of our original clipping issues were solved by doing the map properly.
Yeah.
Like if you look, the maze is supposed to be symmetrical, right? But if you look at, for example, the crosses in the top left and the top right corner, they're not so like the way they're on the map. That's how they are in real life. So like before, it looked like they were always clipping through their crosses and stuff.
Yeah. All right. So what are the current main issues that you guys have had with the system?
Oh, there's some interesting ones that have happened. So the arena that we're playing at the moment is it's like a tin shed almost. So
Like
this
every
arena. Yeah, like a lot of arenas. And something we found is that whenever you're walking near the edge of the arena, it was just teleporting you outside the arena.
Yeah, right.
And we spent ages trying to figure it out. We're like, is our mentions wrong? Is it just, what have we done? And we realized that it was because all the signals were getting reflected out of, so like all the distances were inaccurate because they were bouncing off the walls. So we've already, and I think I mentioned this earlier, right, about software solutions, these sorts of things. We've already put some like arena specific code into this to make it work around those reflections. And that's kind of goes to like the difficulties if you wanted to put it in a new maze. Like at the moment, this is, relies specifically on this maze. Like,
yeah,
over time you might be able to generalize that, but you'd have different problems if you went to a different arena, presumably.
Mm-hmm. Man, everyone watching is crying, realizing that they're not going to have this in their own arena right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely we definitely want to spread it, right? But there's a lot to do to make that possible.
A few questions in the chat there.
Yeah, so Beefy's asked, do the nodes getting knocked about cause issues, or do you just have them high enough that they don't get moved at all?
Yeah, at the moment they're all up high. They're on the tops of walls. But yeah, if they did move, it would cause issues.
If like the wall vibrates, that's not going to really cause a problem. But if you hit the wall hard enough that it gets knocked over or something, then yeah.
Yeah, that'll probably have some issues.
Yeah.
Huh? Guinea in the chat. Is there anything that can be done to improve location accuracy? Beefy's guess was that you just have more nodes. How right?
Yeah, that's sort of true to a point. So if you start adding too many, because obviously the tags have got sort of logic in them that chooses which nodes that it's using to calculate its position, and does that based on where it thinks it is. The more nodes you add, the more often it's going to start switching between those groups of positions, and it kind of adds quite a lot of like overheads to the actual tag. And the other thing is they start interfering with each other.
Right.
So you can imagine you're adding more and more of these like radio frequency signals into the same space, and when you're really close to when they're really close together, they can start sort of adding interference. Or
yeah, if you had a room with no walls, the optimum number is 4. Like you wouldn't put more in just because. Like it's like a balance. Like the more walls and crap you have, the more tags you need. But the more tags you have, that also lowers some other properties.
So there's a bit of a Goldilocks period.
Yeah,
Goldilocks amount.
We spent a long time like adjusting the pattern, like how we've arranged them in the arena and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is like there's certain areas of the arena you need to be really accurate, like in the bases.
Yeah.
This is kind of we've optimized, we've put as many as we can around the base doors and stuff like that, so they're more accurate, like right on the doorways. But in other parts of the arena, that might not be quite so important.
Yeah, you were saying you had five trackers at each of the bases, and then a few more like in between.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like I think there's like 5 in each base, and then like if you go out to those like the cross sections, all that sort of like bit in the middle, there's probably only like 1. And the rest of them will be ranging from way further away.
All right. What else we got? We have Beefy's asked, could this be a portable solution for nationals?
That's a really it's technically yes, but I think the effort that goes into installing it is almost enough that wouldn't make that much sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe like if you're sort of still developing it, you're testing out new mazes, Nats mazes kind of makes sense. Once we've exhausted local mazes, it might make sense from that point of view. But in terms of sort of coming in, setting it up every year, like you might as well leave it there.
Yeah. Yeah, once it's there, it's might as well just leave it set up. How many hours do you reckon, knowing what you know now and how you've developed it so far, how long do you reckon it would take you guys, assuming you had all the time in the world and everything, how long do you reckon it would take you guys to set this system up in a new arena?
I mean, once we get the sort of hardware, because obviously we need to get all that in, and the way the world is right now, that's the lead times on hardware can be quite a long time. But assuming that we had everything prepped in a suitcase when we left here, and we arrived at a new site, and we hadn't forgotten anything, I think you could have something working, within it wouldn't be that long, right? It'd be like a few days solid work, but then you probably have a lot of debugging, and I'm probably being optimistic.
It would be it would be tens of hours at least for two of us probably. Just think about how long we spend. Assuming we've got if we have to redo the maze map, for example, that's like a whole day. Putting all the tags in normally takes a long time. All that stuff. It would be like several days, yeah, probably close to a week for if we had everything right.
Yeah, right. That's quite an undertaking, huh? Jeez.
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing that we want to do is speed up the setup, but no matter what we do, you're still gonna have to climb up there and put 25 tags. You know what I mean? And measure where they are and all that stuff. So there's certain things we can't reduce, but a lot of the install that's gonna be probably we'll start focusing after invites.
Yeah. Butts has asked, do you guys have any ideas about how you'll deal with multiple level arenas?
Yeah, so that's kind of there's sort of two sides there, right? One is the technology, and there's sort of no issues with that already. This is already 3-dimensional. The positions we get out are 3-dimensional, so that wouldn't be much of a change. And the other is then sort of how you can display that on a map. And it would probably depend on the arena, right? Some arenas you'd have to just have them sort of next to each other. Some of them you might have them partially overlaid.
Yeah.
Much like you do with any sort of maze map, you have to kind of consider what visually makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you'll sort of have to consider things like, somebody shooting somebody from upstairs and they're shooting downstairs. What does that look like if you drew it like this?
Yeah, true.
So yeah, there's a heap of considerations for that, and I think technologically it's not that difficult, and then just kind of presentation wise for the stream, it's a whole other issue, right?
Whole new can of worms. Wax has asked, could this be a thing Zoltak could put money to so once it could be taken from nuts to nuts? But we kind of answered that already, where the amount of time and effort it would take to set it up in an arena, you might as well just leave it set up. Yeah. Give me more funds. Well, that's all the questions in chat for now. So we'll go back to my questions. So what real-time game interactions do you have, and or what real-time interactions could we see in the future with new versions of this?
So sort of at the moment that we have is pretty much everything you see, right? So we can see when people are tagging people tagging bases. You can see where people are. One of the things I did start working on, we haven't got the demo of this yet, is sort of labeling a player as a defender or an attacker. So what I was doing in sort of something I was playing with, I was sort of making it like a shield symbol or a gun symbol for whether you're an attacker or defender.
Yeah.
And then from there, what I envisage is looking at heaps of stats. You could start having an attack defense stat for each player for each game. So you could be this player is 50% of their time on attack, 50% on defense, or somebody else is 60% on attack. There's obviously a whole host of different things you could imagine in that space, right? You could look at how long somebody stays under the base without getting hit out. Somebody's tag ratio on attack versus their tag ratio on defense. How fast somebody runs in a game. There's sort of endless data that can come out of out of that.
If you're talking some shit, huh?
Yeah,
Always.
I thought it was an actual question about how would you classify what a defender is based on location. No, it wasn't actually.
Yeah, how were you doing that? If I was to guess, it'd just be the arena map has like
exactly.
you have a zone
So,
that when you're within a certain radius of your base, you're a defender.
Yeah, so the bases are obvious, right? Like you're inside red base, you're under the base, and then you can kind of define based on the arena, right? Like what's a defensive area, and then there'll probably be some neutral areas as well, right? Like that don't really consider attacking or defending any of the bases.
Yeah,
depends on the maze, right? And this maze there actually isn't. Like if you look at it, you're everywhere in the maze is quite, and I guess Hobart would be pretty similar. There's not really anywhere in that maze where you're not part of the game, either attacking or defending.
Yeah, sick. So I was going to ask, you were talking about all these other stats and stuff. At the moment, you're only displaying the scores, but I imagine you have access to everything like the tag ratios and score ratios and denies and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So if you've seen the European scoreboard, it's kind of the same. Like we borrowed a couple of little bits of code from those guys. So in theory, we could build, a scoreboard, but it's kind of not the focus of this at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the potential for all the stats you were saying, like even just stuff like how fast someone ran in a game, I think that could be super fun to go through and stuff for sure.
Yeah, you can combine any of the like positioning stats with the game stats as well, so you can have like tag ratio on attack, tag ratio on defense. You can have I said earlier we could do tags per meter.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can do a bunch of stuff.
Oh, Butts is asking more.
Yeah, Butts has asked, how useful have you guys found watching the games back? Has it added a lot to your game analysis?
So we don't normally record our training games just because we've only got 10 packs that are tracked at the moment, and we're not always playing in those 10 packs. But on the night where we did these games specifically, as Cobras always do, we come out in the game and we disagree about how something went down. And the first thing was replay it, let's see it. No, you see, I was here. So, definitely there's I don't know if it was actually useful but definitely people enjoy going back over the games for sure.
What can you see is possible for the sport with this kind of technology?
So I guess this is just sort of another one of the steps along the streaming. It makes it a lot easier to kind of see what's going on in the maze. You don't have to kind of be a guru to be interpreting a 5x3 and being like, I reckon those people are at that base and he must be there, so these people are on defense. It adds a level of simplicity to the stream that I think we really need desperately, which is kind of why we actually started this project back in 2015. So we kind of as far back as that, right? It's always been it'd be amazing if we could have that. And then we kind of both got jobs in different places and had other priorities, so we kind of shelved it for a few years until I guess COVID times, and we're all stuck around and looking for something to do.
Might mess around and just make a whole ass player tracking system, huh? I'm glad you spent your COVID free time making something real productive. I definitely didn't. I just played a whole lot of video games. What I was curious about is so obviously this is displaying live locations and scores and stuff, but is this, I think you kind of alluded to it before, but is this data being stored so that you can do reviews afterwards?
Yeah, so it's actually, we have a way to record it at the moment. Mostly we use that for debugging. We record and we replay. the replay is not that good. Like the similar, because when we're getting positions, we get each tag sends 10 positions a second. So with like, with 6 tags in there, that's 60 per second. So like our replay kind of has problems with like sending stuff back at the same frequency. It like doesn't like waiting such a short period. So when we replay it, it's a bit clunky, but we can write everything, like every event that we get, we can log that, right? So that's something we can do for sure. I don't think it's that hard to do. It's something we don't really, like we've got a rudimentary one, which we use, like I said, for debugging and stuff, so we can pretend to play a game when we're not on site.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for sure we will be able to record everything like second by second.
Sick. I'm imagining like in old, like I don't know if they still do it, but in old school chess where like you would go through and watch like old chess games that would just have like all the all the tile names and like where they've moved their pieces and stuff, and you can kind of like replay the game that way. If you had all of like the data points and stuff, and then you could feed it through like, and it would like show the game again. That could be really cool.
Yeah, it's
and also surely that'd be a lot less data, a lot less storage use than actually just like taking a video of it and then saving it that way as well, right?
I'm not entirely sure that's true.
Yeah.
Well, video compression's really good, and this is a lot of like there's a lot of averaging and stuff that's going on here, so it really depends at what level you're recording it. But like Danny mentioned before, right? There's 150 locations per second coming out of a team game. It's quite a lot.
The cool thing is if you do record the data, like say we record a game we played at Zeltec this year, and then 5 years from now when this is like looking amazing, you'll be able to play that old game in the newest edition and have it look like a modern, it won't look like an old version. So that's definitely a big plus of like recording the rawest version of the data, right?
How big, if you just had like a 1 12-minute team game, how big do you reckon the file size would be for, like with all of the data it's got?
Probably got one, right?
Yeah,
they're not that big.
I want
my smaller than a video for sure.
Yeah, I can't see one.
I think it's like in like a CSV. I think it's like low megabytes.
Yeah.
Of like CSV.
Sick. Just going through me questions. So yeah, when would you guys be looking to start like trying this out at like a large like upcoming tournament or something? Like, you guys going to be trying to do it for like the New Zealand invites coming up, or?
Yeah. So like the plan, NZ invites is kind of our big. That's when we're trying to get as much shiny stuff as we can buy. So it'll like between now and invites, we have to get it working with every tag. We need to solve the problem of there's actually 30 packs, right? And we don't want to be showing the 15 packs sitting in the kit up room, but we also can't handle data from 30 packs. So we need to sort that out. We're pretty confident we can sort that out. It's just something we haven't done. So it might be we install it into the rest of the packs and there's some new problems. That's like the only technical hurdle. The rest is just making it look good. So we want to do some game start, game end sort of stuff. We want to do, we're at invites, we play elim, we play solos, we play doubles. So we need to do some adjustments for that sort of stuff. But invites, as Aaron just said, invites is this arena. So we're pushing everything we can for invites. And then our next hope is actually the Worlds Committee is deciding where Worlds will be at the moment, and we've nominated this arena. Yep. So our hope is that it will be here, and if it is, that'll be our unveiling kind of thing, right? If Worlds is not here, we'll try and we do want to have a bigger event than invites at some point, right? So we'll see how that goes. But that's kind of as far out as we've thought. We have seen like a lot of interest from, there's been quite a few site ops and stuff who said, oh my god, I want that, or players who want their site ops to have that. So like definitely it's been pretty big in our mind, like how do we roll this out to new sites, how do we make it work and stuff on a bigger scale.
So what you're saying is New Zealand invites, everyone's going to want to tune into the stream, huh?
Yeah, well,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah, we're going to put a lot of effort into it. Like we've sort of done a few good things with invite streaming in the past, and this is hopefully just another step forward. I see Beefy's asking about the arena, if it plays well on 2 shots per second and 1 shot per second. It's
yeah,
we're training on both at the moment, so.
As a general rule, if you have a base that doesn't work on 2 shots, it will be better on 1 shot. Like, if you've got a base you can't break, because it's, you know what I mean? Like, for example, the bases we played Worlds at would have been... We're pretty sure they would have been bad on 2 shot, let's say. Well, we played French format, which was 3 shot, and they were virtually impossible to crack on French format.
Awesome. So yeah, what's the? I think I kind of already asked this, but what do you have in the pipeline for the future development of it?
Yes, I guess the first thing is, as we mentioned, sort of getting it as good as possible for invites. So it's going to look pretty similar to this. Then the next steps after that are probably building sort of a more comprehensive scoreboard, and then probably starting on the stats stuff from there, like whatever that looks like. It might just look like a file that we can upload to base dump. That adds a few extra bits and pieces, like your attack defense ratio, or a few some key parts about that. But actually, the sort of the biggest bits that we want to work on once we've kind of got something to show is like we mentioned earlier, like getting it easier to install, like hardware stuff. Like it's like each one of these tags, I was sort of working out. It's like taking me almost an hour to put together each little one, between the like 3D printing and the like threading the screws and soldering the boards together, and like each pack is like an hour of assembly before you even have the tracker. So there's a lot of improvement that can be done there.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have ideas on how you're going to improve the how long it takes to set up the hardware and stuff, or is that kind of it's no clue yet, but we'll work on it?
Oh, sorry. What was the first half of that question? I was reading.
Do you guys have any ideas about how you're going to improve the time it takes to set up the hardware?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a few options. Like depending on the scale we want, you can get stuff made prefabricated, like the circuit boards and stuff. We can design our like plastic cases a lot better. They're quite fiddly at the moment. Like real basic stuff like that. Hard, like physically that stuff, and then the other stuff, which is like the maze setup stuff. It's kind of about proceduralizing some of it, being like, you always start here, and then you do this, and you do this, and you do that. Like we do a lot of trial and error when we put this together, but once you can kind of start saying, oh well, if you get a T-shaped wall, it's going to do this, so you should avoid that, or if you get like we've discovered with the metal walls, you should avoid those if possible. And there's things like that which we should be able to improve on and iterate on, and make them, if not way faster, at least like procedurized, so you don't have to sort of guess at them. And obviously the goal is to make it possible to put into more arenas without both of us being there for a week or something. Because that's obviously where we would like this to go, is that it's available to more places. And
Classic wax. Easy, mate. Well, that's all the questions I actually had. So, chat, if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in there. In the meantime, gentlemen, is there anything else you really wanted to highlight about your system, or anything you wanted to anything you want to say? I'll give you the floor.
Watch invites. This is a big
Yeah.
one. Tune in for invites, yeah.
I think that's the big one.
I can see chat's getting out of hand.
All right, just wax. Just wax. Yeah, I guess so me thinking about how this will impact the game. I think it's going to be like massive. You were kind of saying before, VDark, about how currently with the 5x3, and to an extent with like the streams, you can like see the base cameras. You can kind of have to just like interpret what's going on. You're like, yeah, I think they're doing like a floaty kind of heavier defense strategy thing right now, but I've got no idea. Like they could have a very standard game and their two attackers and getting many bases, but they're they're shooting a lot of people. It kind of like looks the exact same on a scoreboard.
Yeah.
So yeah, being able to just like watch, this live player tracking, knowing exactly what every team is doing in every game is going to be massive for like VOD reviews and stuff. Yeah, and I feel like it'd really take like the strategy to another level, or at least in terms of like how you make adjustments during a comp to deal with certain teams. Let's say you have a team that whenever they're on red, when they don't get attacked, they do a really aggressive push with like 3 of their defenders to like another base. In a game, you might not realize. On the scoreboard, you might not be able to tell, but if you can just see like 3, like you can just see all of the defenders have just left their base, you can go, oh, okay, so like maybe there's opportunities to like take their base and stuff, and then you could try that in like your next games against them. Do you guys have any personal like thoughts and opinions on how this is going to change like VOD reviews and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go. I'll talk for a bit. Yeah, like even like we used to say, like even if you could just tell what base people were at, you couldn't tell which door they're going in, anything like that. It's huge just to be able to be like, oh, they're attacking with 3, or they're defending with 2, right? So I definitely think like, when you go home and watch the stream or you watch the replays or whatever, you'll be able to take a lot more notes and you'll be able to do it a lot more quickly, right? Like, you can just watch the first 2 minutes and you don't have to guess based on what bases they've got, what they're doing. You can skip 2 minutes. You can like sort of get the idea of a game a lot faster. There's nothing stopping you like running this and fast forward. But yeah, I think for sure, like for us personally, if this was available, we'd be looking into it a lot. We'd be looking at what they did last year and stuff, right? Yeah, like same with pre-nets. You get so much more information from a pre-nets if you can analyze it.
Yeah, in terms of like watching it on stream, I the amount of times like as the the commentator, like I've done it, I've fallen victim to it before, but you have such limited information, and you'll see the base camera and you see there's no defenders in the base, and you can't really see anyone moving around on the outside of the base, and you're like, have they dumped, or are they just like field pointing really aggressively? Being able to tell stuff like that will be very, very useful for the commentators as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like we've seen so many games where exactly what you said, like, oh, so-and-so's dumped, and no, like they haven't dumped. They're just like not in the base because no one's there.
We've got a couple questions now. Beaver said, for real though, how much for Hobart to be the trial and we can crowdsource it?
We actually discussed this before this meeting. We're like, what if they really, really want it for Hobart?
Yeah, like what would it take? Like, I think it's doable, right? But it's like...
Yeah, that's kind of where we're there. I mean, we're going to do it for invites, right? Which is before Hobart. You just have to pay for like 2 weeks of leave for Denny.
Yeah.
Both of us.
And then all the hardware and stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that on top of all of that. Because I wouldn't want to, yeah, we definitely wouldn't be whipping it out of Silverdale, take it over to Hobart.
This this one we've done for Wayne is sort of free for Wayne, who's been on site on for 10 years. We own one, you know. Or
Yeah.
maybe more like 20 years.
Yeah, that's a lot more than 10 years now.
Yeah.
Butts has asked, how difficult would heat maps be? So you got different colors depending on how long a player stands in a certain part of the arena.
Yeah, I actually already did some of that sort of stuff when we're actually trying to debug the location accuracy. Yeah, the answer is if you can imagine sort of a formula to make one, then yeah, it's achievable. Beefy's really on this.
Beefy's desperate. Beefy. He's screaming for it.
He said 2 weeks, not 2 days, Beefy. Come on.
Alright, with flex, bro. Yeah, no, if we get that for Zoltak, that'd be really, really wicked. God knows,
Yeah, maybe
all the teams in the top 10 would be absolutely frothing over it.
Runt's going to be at invites, so I'm sure we'll have a long chat about it at invites.
Is New Zealand invites before or after Prenuts 3?
I think it's before, because
it's the start of
May and Prenuts 3 is in June, right?
Yeah. Jeez,
so
it's a busy period for laser tag, and then the month after we're going bloody nuts. Jeez. Man, I just keep watching. I'm like, this is so bloody cool, man.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be good when we can get a little bit more like cleaner dots and like the full 15, like a real game in there.
How difficult was it to integrate all of the things like scores and like knowing when players get tagged and all of that sort of stuff?
Yeah, there was like you can go.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, there's a bit of like each individual thing was kind of a bit of a challenge on its own. At the moment, this is all in real time. Like we haven't got something in the background being like, realigning all the events.
Oh, VDark's dropped out. I'm sure we'll be back in a moment. You could take over, Popeyes, or you.
Oh, Aaron's gone. Oh,
yeah, he dropped out. Oh no, he's back.
Oh, it was me that dropped
out. Yeah,
it was you that dropped out.
Yeah, I heard you.
He might have to reset up your audio device and stuff.
But I didn't drop out.
You take it away, Popeyes.
Yeah, I can still hear Aaron. Anyway, I'll go anyway. Yeah, so as Aaron was saying, there's each individual component, right? So to get the scores, we had to do essentially the same process that the European guys had to do to build their own scoreboard.
Yeah.
Well, obviously they've done way more on the UI side than us, but on the connection side, all that sort of stuff, we had to do the same thing. And then in terms of like the positioning side, that was a whole thing, right? We had to work out the best way to align all the tags, the best way to put them up in the arena. We had to work out the software for that as well. And then like putting them in the packs, like, Aaron's done all the 3D printing to make little cases for them and stuff. Like all this sort of stuff, miniaturizing them to we've got them quite small now. And then the big one, which basically the last step we had to overcome before we produced this demo, was aligning the two systems, right? So saying, okay, tag 1 is here, but tag 1 is blade, right? And when and so we can color, and it's red, and we can make it red. And when it shoots another tag, we can draw that. So that was like the last, like combining the two data streams, right? The positioning and the game data.
Aaron, have a go talking again. Apparently chat can hear you, but I don't know if I can hear you.
Yeah, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear you. That's so strange. Hold on.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Weird. I can see a little red microphone across through it. Maybe it's just you've clicked on me and like I don't want to hear him.
Yeah, I don't know. I can.
Oh no.
Yeah, Beefy's question's actually a bit on the nose right now because we are having this issue. And you might even be able to see it in this demo where occasionally it freezes.
I hadn't seen it before this demo.
And then it catches up. But yeah, during those freezes, obviously the tags are getting out of sync because everything's frozen, but the tags are still running. So we're not actually sure where that's coming from, but it would be, it's something that we obviously need to figure out.
Oh, now we can't.
No, he's muted himself.
He's muted himself, yeah.
But I can see the same mute button on him that I can see myself.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, very strange. This software that I'm using, not perfect, I guess.
I heard it was the top of the line, man.
Yeah,
that's what told me.
Yeah, well, it's anyway. I was noticing before that it looks like there's a bit of like rubber banding sometimes.
Yeah.
Is that a do you guys know why it's rubber banding in the demo, or is that an unknown?
So there's some stuff we do know and there's some stuff we don't know. So a lot of like, if it like clips through a wall, or maybe if it like jumps a little bit, that could be just that we missed a signal or something. There's a lot of like, Beefy said something about smoothing. There's a lot of algorithms that there's some we already put in and they're not in on this. This is just the raw data, but like there's lots of averaging stuff you can do. There's lots of logic you can do, right? Like if you're on one side of the wall and then suddenly you're on the other side of the wall, we can draw a path around that wall instead of like clipping you through it. In terms of the actual pausing, like we haven't really seen much of this. I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've seen it was when we made these demos, but Aaron reckons he's seen it before. But we'll figure out why. There's like 3 or 4 places it could be. Most likely it's going to be straightforward or straightforward-ish, right? Like we're pretty confident this can work without random pauses.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, chat, I'll give you a few minutes to submit any last questions, and then I reckon we'll wrap it up there, gentlemen. Nice, short, sweet, and to the point.
I've got a question that maybe chat can answer as well.
Yeah.
So we know, like we've watched streams all the time, and as soon as the commentators switch away from the 5x3, chat explodes with go back to the 5x3, go back to the 5x3. Because it's annoying. You can't tell what's going on from the cameras, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to know is like, what's on the 5x3? Imagine we weren't switching to it. Imagine we just wanted our scoreboard and the positions. What are the like? What's critical to have on there that people aren't going to be going, oh, I wish I could see the 5x3 right now.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I feel like the player positions and like what you've got visually and the scores is probably like the minimum, I guess.
Yeah, because we can put like KDA, like kill, like you don't need like how many shoulders you've got, right? Like, do you need score ratio or is tag ratio enough? Like, do we need that little white and gray bar that shows how long you've been active for? Like, all that sort of stuff. It would be good to know like which ones are like critical and which ones people don't care about, right? Like we've got our own ideas about that, but we know as soon as we leave off someone's favorite feature, we'll hear about it.
Yeah. What's his
I think Butz has said scores, ranks, tags for and against. I'd agree. I don't know if I care as much about the ranks. If you have it already being sorted like it is at the moment on the right side, and you don't really need to display the rank, I think. But tag ratio is definitely
XP.
XP.
Whatever.
Yeah, tag ratio would be sick.
Are we still leveling up in that string games? Is that still a thing?
That was happening in Bendigo, yeah. That was like all of the first like few days you were just hearing leveling up sounds all the time.
You should have a minimum level to attend that, so it doesn't happen so much.
Yeah. Boy, what are you doing at Nationals when you're level 1? Get out of here. Beefy said, I would love raw data to web applet and similar for 503 and have a Twitch stream separate.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I'm not entirely sure what Beefy wants. I suppose he wants the 5x3 and this. We're thinking of making a stream of the data available as well. Well, we need it for ourselves anyway. But yeah, it's something we're looking at.
Beefy also asked, how does paneling present? Looks like the arena doesn't suit paneling, question mark.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, the answer is that you can fix it with software. Like if you're on a panel, it's like these dots are obviously not exactly person shaped. So if you're on a panel, it's going to be next to a panel. And the way I plan to fix it, and I've already written the code, I just haven't implemented it in here, is basically to make it so that it won't put you any closer to the panel than so that you're touching the panel, just like graphically. So I guess when people are holding static positions, as long as the accuracy is, as long as the position accuracy is there, it should be fine.
Yep.
They might wobble a bit just because there's always just a bit of noise going on, and there's stuff you could do about that as well.
Beefy clarified, a website to take inputs from both, and then Twitch stream for video and other stuff.
Yeah, like we could just have this going. In fact, we intend to have this going just full time at Silverdale, and that is basically in a browser. So you're right. Like the stream, like the Twitch stream, could be doing whatever they want, right? The Twitch stream's going cameras, going interviews, whatever, and the whole time you could have our thing just go to whatever our website is, and you can look at that. And if you wanted to, you could do the same thing with the 5x3, right? So if we've got 3 TVs in our Airbnb, we could have 1 TV on the stream, 1 TV on the 5x3, and 1 TV on this.
That'd be a big flex, having 3 TVs in your Airbnb.
Yeah, well, maybe we have to scavenge them from around the house and put them in the room.
Trying to see if there's any other questions. No, doesn't look like it. Yeah, we might start to wrap it up, gentlemen. Did you have any parting thoughts or anything you wanted to say before we wrap it up?
Come to invites.
I think it might be too late to come to invites.
Very, very, very almost too late. It's too late to get a discount.
No, I think it's just, like if you have any more questions, we're pretty easy to reach. If you want to, if you want it in your maze, like it's probably too early for us to be, agreeing to put it in people's mazes right now. But like, it is really good to, get that feedback and get, a list, because there's probably a point at which we have to, either pull the trigger and make something semi-commercial or not, or, like we're still not entirely sure where this is headed, other than that we want to see it out there. So, like if you have ideas or interest in it, reach out to us, because, we need that information.
Yeah, wicked. Well, at the very least, as Laser Sports Academy, we'll share like all of the stuff for invites. Trying to get as many people on and watching as possible, and I think everyone's going to want to watch. First tournament with this kind of software is going to be really cool.
Yeah, and we'll be doing the remote commentary thing again, of course. Mm-hmm. So if anyone wants to, I'm sure it'll be a great one to commentate, right? Be the first one to get the new stuff.
100%.
It's in
Wax
the start of May.
Wax has asked when is it? Start of May, you said?
Yeah, it's like May 4th or 5th or something.
Is invites just like a weekend comp?
Yeah, it's basically the way we've run invites is we try and make it so that you can do the team event without taking any leave. Obviously, you can't do that if you're an Australian, but from New Zealand, you can fly to wherever it is after work, and you'll get there in time for the teams event. And then we run all the side events during the day on the Friday. So you have to take Friday off if you want to do everything. If you don't want to take any time off, you can still do the team event. It's just Friday night, Saturday night. Sometimes it's Sunday morning. We sort of have a trade-off between going later on Saturday night versus like Sunday morning hours, and people seem to prefer just longer on Saturday and skip Sunday.
Yeah.
So that's what it is this year. But yeah, should be a really good one this year.
Fantastic stuff. Well, yeah, very much looking forward to it. Thank you very much for joining us, VDark and Popeyes. Really happy that we're able to get you guys on to, you know, talk about the meat and potatoes of your system. Very interesting stuff. I think it's something that I've heard, you know, the idea of like each player having like a GPS tracker on them is like an idea I've heard like at least 5 times over the years. And then the conversation has always been like, nah, like it'll be too expensive. Nah, it'll be too difficult and stuff. And then bam, you guys have just gone and bloody done it. So you have my, respect and all of that. Excellent work.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, there's obviously has been a lot of work so far, and there's going to be a lot more to come. So, you know, watch the space, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Watch this space.